Okay, so today I'm going to talk about how to make and plan your hard slab box. So we did a hard slab last year in Ceramics 1. We made these houses. Do you remember that? About 2 of you made it, but thank you for doing it if you did it. So you've done this before if you had me last year. It was kind of a challenge to do at home, but I was impressed when some of you made it. Look at this one. This one's mine, and it's pretty darn crappy because I made it at home. All right, so the first thing you want to do is come up with your sketch idea and start to think about it. You don't have to have all your ideas done, but you want to plan and come up with your idea. And then after you come up with your idea, your general idea, you can change it if you get it. Then you need to start either finding something to use to cut out your slabs or make a template. So if you're just going to make a square box, I do have this one, but it's going to be tiny because it will shrink a lot. So I would recommend that you make a bigger one. Otherwise your box will be very small. There isn't necessarily a size limit on the box. I just wouldn't go really big because they tend to warp, or really small. So if you want to make a template, I'm going to put out paper and scissors, and you can use a pencil. I did Sharpie. So if I wanted to make a rectangular box, like this one, or this one, I would definitely make a stencil for that. If you're going to do a square one, you can decide if you want to use the cookie cutter or not. So this stencil is 6 by 6 and 6 by 8. So there would be 4 for the sides, right? 2 for the sides, 1 for the top, 1 for the bottom, and then the short side would be this one. So what I would do is I would cut out both of these, and then I would need to roll my own slabs for these. If you're gonna make this smaller one, I have a machine, not really, a handheld tool to cut those out. Otherwise, you guys need to take your clay, and when you cut the clay, you want to cut it a finger down and cut it this way. If you need a wider box, it will go in the slab roller hamburger. If you have longer slabs, it will go in hot dog. The tool I have for smaller squares is this like bread slicing looking tool. You might have seen me use this. It just slices through, and I can make a bunch of slabs. That was loud, sorry. With that. So that is how I made these. And then I let them dry to leather hard. Okay, so I have some pre-made of these if you want to use these. Otherwise, you have to make your own and get them to the leather hard stage. You do not want to try to put a box together when your slabs are soft, and I'm going to show you that right now. So once you roll the slabs in the slab roller, it's really important that you don't carry them around and stretch them a lot, like wobble them while you carry them around. So this is fresh clay. I just put paper between it so it wouldn't stick. So I took one of the slabs when it was fresh, and then I used this cookie cutter and cut it out, and it's really flexible and soft. See? This is the worst time to try to put a box together because we're going for hard slab. This is soft slab. So it looks like it would go together okay. Maybe Emma could do it, but I'm just kidding. But it will wobble and be messy. So it's much, I'm just teasing. So it's much better to have hard slab. So I know you know the difference, but I'm going to pass them around so you can feel the difference. Don't be shy. You can pinch them. Okay. All right. So you would need to let this firm up. So what you're going to use to let it firm up is you're not going to put them by the fan. The sides will dry too fast, and the inside won't dry, and it'll be really uneven and could crack. You don't want it to crack. That's the biggest problem with hard slab. So what you want to use, and I totally forgot them, are the wood wear boards that are on the shelf over there. So Bella, can you grab me a couple of those wood boards? So you would put your slabs between them. If you have bigger slabs, like you're doing something that's bigger than these squares that I'm going to show you, then you would need to get boards from me or something else to put in between. Thanks. So these are the boards you use. They are porous, like a sponge, so they will soak up moisture. So what you'll do is you'll put them between the boards once you make them, and then you put them in a plastic bag overnight, and the next day they'll be leather hard. Don't leave them more than one night. If it's the weekend, don't do this. They will get too dry. Okay, so even though they're wrapped up in plastic, the wood will soak up the moisture, and then you will get your leather hard slab. Okay, so you need if you're doing the square box, 6 leather hard slabs for all the sides, top and bottom. Okay, so you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so then you're ready to start your construction. You should always keep your slabs that you're not using in plastic because it's a pain if they dry out. The biggest problem with making these boxes is drying. Oh, if you wanted to add texture to your box, you'd have to do it at the wet stage if you're using stamps or rollers. So you need the wet soft clay. You can get the roller or stamps. In the drawer over here under the cookie cutters are those cultural stamps if you want to use those. So you would need to do this at this stage and then put them between the boards and firm them up. Okay, hard slab. Once it's leather hard, if you want to use the cookie cutter, you can. You can just take it, and sometimes you're going to have to use your needle tool or something else to cut it. Yes, you can recycle this clay. No, we're not going to. Okay, because I don't have the time or energy. You have to turn it back to slip, spread it on the wedging table, let it dry. I'm not doing that. So it's okay to toss leather hard clay. So you've got to get your sides. I'm only going to show you 2 right now for time. If there's a lot of texture on it, on the counter over there are blue rubber ribs. That's the best tool to smooth it with. Don't get a sponge and water. Okay, so smooth it with the rubber rib if that bothers you. So like I said, you will need 6 of those. If you're doing a different shape, then you'll need less of them. Do you see how that's hard for me to cut? So if that's hard to cut, I have the basic shape on here. I have this square and rulers. I only have 1 square. It's a 90-degree angle. The best way to do that is your needle tool. I have this fettling knife. I'm going to use that. So don't try to cut it all at once. What you want to do is just hold it and what's called score, like slipping and scoring, score the top of it a few times and then go in and cut it. Okay, so it works better if you just score it a couple times like this and then cut it. So I'm going to show you just the beginning of the box today, and then in tomorrow or Monday's demo I'll show you more because it is a process to make these. So the biggest thing is that you are making the pieces leather hard. Do not try to put these together wet. So score it a couple times and they'll be good to go. Okay, what would happen if I put end to end to end to end? You guys are smart. What's going to happen? Not feeling it? 1 or 2 or 3 of the sides are going to be big and stick out. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to create bevels. So bevels are 45-degree angles. So in the tray of extra tools on the counter are 2 types of bevel cutters. They're wire tools at 45-degree angles, or you can get a fettling knife from me. I also call them tetanus knives. Do you guys have one of these in your kit? I don't think so. So if you don't cut yourself by accident or something with them, you're not going to get tetanus. I was just kidding. But they're rusted, and they're meant to rust. The new ones are like this, but after use, they get rusty, and they still work good. A fettling knife is meant to be not very sharp and flexible. All right. So the way that we use the bevel cutters to cut our 45-degree angle is you'll come, and it's best to stand up on the side of your table, and then put it here on the side with the wire, and then you're going to cut a 45-degree angle, like that. If you don't want to use the bevel cutter, you can use your fettling knife. You just hold it like this, like we do with the pottery wheel, and you do a 45-degree angle that way. So it's important that you do that on all the sides that you're attaching, except for the lid. So I'm just going to do one more on this one for time, so that I've got that nice 45-degree angle. That way, when you guys put them together, they will butt up together and make a nice angle. If any of you have seen woodworking or something, that's how that's done. All right, there are 2 steps to putting this together. You must slip and score, and then you must smear clay in the seams. So I told you this project was more complicated than the other ones. So to slip and score, you have to get the lid off. Okay, so you're going to slip and score wherever you attach the seam, both sides, really good, score it well. And then when you put them together, it is a good idea to build it, not on a wood board, that will dry it out, but a black plastic circle, because then you can lift it and move it and carry it. They're called bats. So after you put that together, that is not strong enough. You need to take some soft clay. You can get it out of the green bin. By the way, you can find something to prop it up or have a friend help you. And then you can get some soft clay out of the green bin. So there's two ways artists do this. You can roll a coil, and if you can't see, you might walk on the other side, or you can kind of guess what I'm doing here. You can put the coil in, or my method is I just take soft clay, and I press the soft clay in the seam really well. Once you start putting more of the sides together, it's a little bit tougher to do, but you can still do it. So I'm pressing clay in that seam. And then you also need to do it on the outside seam and on the top. So press that clay, and then you'll want to do it on the outside seam as well. Don't worry that it looks a little junky. You can always come back in and trim that off later. So the other thing I'm doing here is I'm adding wet clay to leather hard clay. And when you do that, you know that with your handles, all those handles from the cups we made, the mugs, you need to spray and wrap it. So even though this box isn't done, it only has two sides put together, I would still lightly spray it and wrap it. Okay, so a couple boxes. You do need to add handle or knob and feet. We'll talk about that another day. The other thing is, this is coming off, but you'll need to add something so that the lid fits on the piece and doesn't just slide off. Now they created a bevel on this one that kind of helps, but not really. So we'll talk another day about how to create a flange so that your lid fits, and we'll also talk about the knob and the feet. So what you guys need to go work on now is coming up with an idea. If you can't think of anything today, you can work on something else and come up with it tomorrow.